Hi, I'm Rocket. Welcome to Whiteboarding with Rocket. In this session, I'm going to show you what my audio and video routing looks like for my home studio. It's pretty wild. It's taken 2 years to get to here. It's been well worth the investment, and it continually builds upon the previous ideas and the previous configurations. So why have I got such a complex setup? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I'm doing video conferences that require live whiteboarding, that require live participation sitting at my desk, requires screen sharing, requires all these different things. I need to be able to do that and get up at the whiteboard, sometimes in the same video conferencing call. Often I have back-to-back calls, one being whiteboarding, one being on the, where I have to show my face and be on video that way. I also do recordings primarily of the whiteboard. I also do recordings of voiceovers for desk screen sharing when I record what's happening on my desktop. So lots of flexibility is required with this setup. I continually worked on reducing the amount of setup time and the amount of post-processing required to get a nice video done. I wanted to make sure my video and my audio were in sync when I was on video conference calls. I'm also conducting interviews for people on my team at work. And that requires a whole other suite of things to make this work. I'm not necessarily going to show all of those here, but you get an idea of what I can do based on this. At first, I started off with a simple lavalier mic where I'd come, when I needed to get up and do a whiteboard, I'd, get the lavalier mic out, I'd wire it up, get it going, test it. That could take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Well, that's not a lot of time, except when you're trying to do 15 or 20 of these videos in a week often, and it just begins to add up. The audio recording side of the house was doing well. I would bring them in together into the ATEM as a single unit, but what that didn't allow me to do was add effects, make sure I had taken out all the different sounds and the ambient noise and things like that. And I ended up spending a bunch of extra time after the video was recorded cleaning up the sound. So what I ended up doing was getting a mixer that has a lot of different options when it comes to cleaning it up. That helped quite a lot. What really made the big difference was getting preamps, the DBX 286 preamps, so that when my microphones go into those, almost all of the noise floor is taken out. So anything that's below a certain level, you don't hear. And what's wonderful about that is you don't get this odd pattern of when I start talking, all the ambient noise shows up. You don't get that with this. So all of the microphones in the studio are going through that preamp setup into the Behringer XR18 mixer. So that's here. So I've got a shotgun mic right above me. It's a whiteboard shotgun mic. I've got a desk shotgun mic that sits right above my desk and aims down. I also have a Shure SM7B used for when I do interviews and when I do voiceovers. That helps a ton. Why wouldn't I just always use that Shure SM7B? Well, it's really good if I'm sitting still, if I'm able to sit in one place. But more often than not, I pop up and I head over to the whiteboard and I start interacting on the whiteboard, working with people on the call. And being able to just quickly mute one microphone and unmute the other helps a ton. So I ended up with both the shotgun microphone and the Shure SM7B. From here, the XR18 sends a signal out through bus 1 and 2. It's a stereo signal that goes into an ATEM Mini Extreme. It goes into mic 1 input on there. And what's nice about mic 1 input is I can add video frame delays. So I can slow the audio down, I should say audio delays. And in this case, I've slowed the audio down by 8 frames. And that allows, when I'm talking to people on video conference or when I've recorded this, my voice and the audio are in sync right out of the gate. It's a huge benefit to this. From here, there are multiple outputs for video. I have one that could go into a MacBook via USB-C and it act as a webcam. And what happened for me, and I don't know if others experience this, is that was very unreliable for me for whatever reason. I hope it's my setup. I don't think I haven't heard lots of complaints about the video conferencing solutions not working when you use the USB-C via the ATEM Mini. But for me, it was so unreliable that I ended up routing one of the aux outputs through a video assist, which is a small monitor that allows input and output. It's right above my desk, and that's showing me what's going out through a cam link, which is connected into my MacBook, and that acts as my camera. And what's cool about that is it's reliable, first of all, and second of all, I have the program output. When I record things, the program output is a third output, and it's not actually going out through the cam link, not always, and I can control it. So I have 3 separate outputs that I can control independently of each other. So if there's any situation in which I want to share something on one of the other video inputs, I change that aux1 and I map that to wherever I want it to change to. Pretty sweet. This works really well when it comes to interviews, because what I want to do is have an interview doing a side-by-side super source. So the guest on one side and me on the other side in a nice background. And I set that up, but I can't send that back out over the video because it will do the whole mirror thing and you'll get the infinite video view. So what I end up doing there is I send the program out and I hit the record button, and program is this nice super sourced interview. And often what I'll do with an interview is take that and cut it in the beginning and the end, and I'll just send that out kind of unedited, and then use the inputs from the different cameras to reconstruct that and make it a little bit more even, and make sure my head is the same height as the guest's head, and we're not too disparate in terms of sizes and things like that. So I get a lot of really amazing capabilities by having this. I have a second auxiliary output that I call the external monitor output, and that gets routed to several places. One, it gets routed to a big TV I have in the room, so I can pop something up on there and I can see it, and it's very nice. It's multi-steps to get there, but it's very nice to have. I also have a little small monitor next to my desk that I can see, and I can do preview and see what's going on there. And then finally, I have what I call the whiteboard monitor. And let's say I'm on a video conference call and I want to interact with the people on the other side. Before, what I'd end up doing is this. I'd look over to my desk and I'd look and see, and I'd completely lose contact with or connection with the people on the call. So what I've done is I've routed a monitor right beneath this camera, in which I can put everybody on the video conference call right here, and I can maintain and I can see reactions, and it looks like I'm interacting with them. It was a huge step up when I did this. Okay, coming back to the audio. Let's talk about the audio. So I've got bus 1 and 2, so I'm able to speak into this whiteboard mic. It's going through getting preamped and getting some nice sweetness adding to the signal, going out to this mixer down bus 1 and 2, mic 1 into the ATEM. It then goes up to this video assist, which has both video and audio at that point, and it drops down into the cam link under the Zoom. I do have the USB connection between the MacBook and the XR18, so I can map channels, input and output channels, over that USB connection, which is pretty sweet. I haven't figured out how to change the signal. on that USB-C. So when I want to increase the output on that USB going to here, so it boosts the sound on these video conferencing solutions, I can't figure that out. I'll continue to work on that, but that's one where I'm like, this should be easy, and I don't find it easy. So then, but the other part of that equation is if I set my microphone to the cam link, I'm getting that 8-frame delay from the ATEM, which makes all the difference in the world. There is no frame delay setting in the XR18. I'd have to upgrade to the next level of mixer, and right now I just don't need that. So I'm not even considering it at this point. If I can maintain this and it continues to work, I'll be happy with it. So in the video conferencing, I use the microphone is the cam link, and then the speakers is the XR18. And why do I do that? Well, I have a couple of options here coming out of the XR18 for listening. One, I have a set of studio monitors that I can hear in the room, which is nice. I can, if I'm doing a listening call, that's great. It also sounds really nice in the room. And there are people who also live in this household. And so if I have them on and they get too loud, I want a second option to do in-ear monitors. And what I've done there is I've just established a wireless in-ear monitor setup where I could put them in up here, not have the speakers on, but hear everything going on. That seems to be a very powerful solution. I'm going to be testing it over the next several months. As a backup to all of this, I also have a Jabra speakerphone setup that's USB connected into the MacBook, so that if something goes wrong here, or this isn't powered on, or I need to restart something, I can switch over to that Jabra, and it has good enough sound for general everyday stuff. I listen to myself after the fact, and I'm like, yeah, it's not where I want it to be. It's a little tinny at times. So there's a number of reasons why having this setup, and I wouldn't want to use it for recording this. And part of me says, if I have all these options for recording these videos, I'd like to have those options as part of my video conferencing solution. With that, I'm Rocket. This has been another Whiteboarding with Rocket.